Okay, so now we'll do some examples. These examples are going to be in the AND category. And so let's go ahead and solve each of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve them separately. So let's go ahead and do the first one on the left first. So divide by 5. And remember, we can treat this like an equality until we have a division by a negative or multiplication of a negative. So on the left, we have x minus 2 is greater than 3. And then adding 2 to both sides, we get x is greater than 5. Now, do the second one. Multiply both sides by 4 to get x minus 6 is less than or equal to negative 8. And then add 6 to both sides, so x is less than or equal to negative 2. The next thing you want to do after you have this solved out is to draw it on the number line. So let's go ahead and do that. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say that's 5. And this one is negative 2. And they're all in intervals of 1, so I'm not going to label all of them. The first one on the left-hand side is x is greater than 5. So the red one is going to be greater than 5. Not a closed circle because there's no or equals to. And then the left one the right one is going to be the blue one. And this one is closed because of the equal sign. Now, before you go and find your answer, you have to make sure that you bring this part down and understand that this is the key to the answer. Right? So where do we have both of these at the same time? Where do they overlap? And the answer again here is they never overlap. So no solution. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the next example. This one is a little bit more complicated because it uses function notation. So let's go ahead and write that. P of n is equal to 4n plus 5. H of n is equal to negative 4n plus 5. And we want to find the values of n for which P of n is less than or equal to 5 and H of n is less than or equal to 2. So it's a lot of words, right? But honestly, what you could do is you could convert this into a very simple problem, just getting rid of all the stuff that you don't actually need. So do we agree that really the problem is asking you that? And again, that a bit more in the middle. But what is P of n? P of n is given by that. So whenever we're doing a substitution, we put parentheses around what we're substituting for, which is P of n, and plug in what we want. Similarly, with H of n,
should be negative 4 and minus 5.
Minus 5. Is less than or equal to 2. So this one right here is that one. And what we did was we replaced it here and here. Again, solve like we did before. So subtracting 5 to both sides, we have 4n is less than or equal to 0, or n is less than or equal to 0. And on this side, negative 4n, if you add 5, is less than or equal to 7, or n, when we divide by this negative 4, the inequality flips, negative 7 over 4. Okay. Now, before we actually move on, what I want to do is, let me write this on the top first, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that you can do this another way. So notice on this right-hand side, if I multiply both sides by -1, we get 4n plus 5 is greater than or equal to 2. Now, inequalities can flip as long as the things that are pointing to it, the things that it points to are the same. So in other words, I can put this on the other side. It's -2 is less than or equal to 4n plus 5. And notice that the arrow is still pointing at the same number. But we have these two. And this is the same as the one in the right-hand side over there. So what I could do is I could bring this over. And we know 4n plus 5 is less than or equal to 5 as well. So we get that inequality. Now the reason why we can do it here is because it's an AND problem. You cannot do this with ORs. My personal preference is anytime you have a problem that looks like this, is actually to do it like this. So I prefer to split it into 2 and not do it as 1. And the reason for that is because when there's variables on both sides, it gets a little tricky. I prefer to have it split as 2. Okay. So let me rewrite that so we can actually solve it. -2 is less than or equal to 4n plus 5, which is less than or equal to 5. So to solve this one, you take what's in the middle and apply the operations to both sides. So if I only had that right-hand side, we would subtract 5 like this. But since we have 3 different parts, we have to do it to all 3. And similarly, divide by 4 means divide all 3 by 4. So -7/4 is less than or equal to n, which is less than or equal to 0. Now, depending on the type of problem, this is actually easier in this case because it gives you the answer directly. It's the numbers n that are between -7/4 and 0. And that is going to be the interval -7/4 to 0. That contains all the numbers in between or equal to the 2 endpoints. But notice if we just take one extra step and actually drew this out, less than or equal to 0. Do that another color. And then greater than or equal to -7/4, which is close to -2. Okay, we see that they have the AND property here, which again is from -7/4 to 0. Either way is fine, whichever way you choose to do it. Again, I think this way is more complicated when there are variables on all 3 sides, whereas if it's just variables on the middle, it's fairly straightforward. Or you can split it up into 2 and then just draw it out and you'll get the answer. This one is like what we've been doing for all the other problems, so it may be easier for you to do if it's consistent in one way.